have you ever testified that at the scene, Miss Reed was seated in the back of a patrol car along with Jennifer McCabe, and you were standing just outside the car, and there was an interaction among the three?
Yes.
Have you ever testified, or have you ever stated in any particular, that during that interaction, Karen asked the three of you to pray?
Yes.
Have you ever said or testified that during that interaction where you're seated, where they are seated in the back of the patrol car, and Miss Reed asked you to pray, that Miss Reed said to Jennifer McCabe, Google hypothermia?
No.
You've never said that?
I've never said that.
You testified at the grand jury on April 26th. Is that right? April 26th, 2022?
I do not know.
Right? Does that sound right? April 26th, 2022?
I have no idea.
Late April 2022, does that sound right?
I don't know. It was 2022.
You testified under oath, correct?
Yes.
Swore the same oath that you swore here.
Yes.
Tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, but penalty of perjury. Is that right?
Yeah.
That's what I needed. Is it your testimony that you have never said that Karen told Jen to Google hypothermia, or that you don't recall saying that?
I don't recall saying that.
Would it refresh your recollection to look at portion of your grand jury testimony from that day?
It might.
May I approach?
Yes.
I have to say, I think that she has been told if she says it doesn't refresh her recollection, she can't be cross-examined on it too many times.
And if you could read on to page 83 as well.
Wow, what you're seeing right now is an ultra-real.
Yep. I testified. I didn't hear it, but I was told that she was asked to Google it.
You testified under oath at the grand jury that at some point Karen was in back of the police cruiser, correct?
Yep.
Objection.
No, I'll allow that question.
Does that refresh your recollection as to what you told the grand jury?
Yes.
And isn't it true that at some point during the course of your testimony under oath, you said that Karen was in the back of the police cruiser?
Yes.
And then you went on to describe that Karen and Jen and I were standing outside, and she made us all start holding hands and starting to pray.
Yes.
I mean, what the she being Karen Reed, correct?
Yes.
And at this point, they had lifted John up and taken him onto the gurney, correct?
I
That's
don't
what you
know.
described.
I don't recall.
Okay. I'm going to do this again, just so we're clear. Yeah, Coach?
Yes.
Sure. Thank you. Just the portion at the bottom of the page.
At the bottom?
At the bottom, last couple of paragraphs.
Okay. Yep, I say I think, so I'm not
I have
positive.
a question for you.
Okay.
Does that refresh your recollection?
Yes,
Okay, thanks. Thank you. And you testified basically that you think, at least that's what you were telling the grand jurors, that you
Yep.
think that was the point at which they lifted John up
yes,
and moved him into the ambulance, correct? Is that right?
yes,
And then you were asked a question, what, if anything, did she, Miss Reed, ask Miss McCabe while they were sitting in the back of the cruiser that you heard, correct? Objection.
Do you recall that?
I did not hear the question about Google being asked.
That's not my question. May I ask? May I inquire?
Just repeat that question.
Sure. Isn't it true that you were next asked by Mr. Lally in front of the grand jury, quote, what, if anything, did she, Miss Reed, ask Miss McCabe while they were sitting in the back of the cruiser that you heard, end quote. Remember being asked that question?
No,
May I approach you? Yes. Thank you. Thank you. If you're willing to look at lines 16 through 18.
She's totally recalcitrant, or she's been told that if she says she doesn't recall, she doesn't have to answer, or she's not
Yes.
prepped properly.
Does that refresh your recollection? That was the question that you were asked?
yes,
Okay. And in response to that question, you stated, quote, at one point she asked her to Google hypothermia and how long Google hypothermia, correct?
Mhm.
I'm sorry?
yes,
That was very detailed. You'll agree that that's a very detailed and specific recount of an event. You recounted where you were, back of a cruiser, or they were in the back of a cruiser, correct?
yep,
You recorded or reported the time. It was right around the time that you thought they were lifting John up and scooped him up onto the gurney, correct?
yep. I thought it was about that time. I wasn't sure.
Location,
I'm sorry, I didn't get that answer. You were talking over each other.
that's my mistake.
What was your answer, Ms.
I
Roberts?
thought it was about the time they lifted him up, but I wasn't sure.
You were very detailed about who was there. It was you. It was Jen. It was my client, Karen
Yes.
Reed, correct? Is that right?
Yes,
You're so detailed that you talked about where you were standing next to the cruiser open door, correct?
yes,
What the others were doing, holding hands and praying. Is that right?
yes,
And the actual words used. You were as detailed about all of that as the actual words used. She asked her to Google hypothermia and how long, and then you stopped, Google hypothermia, end quote, correct?
correct.
You will agree, at least for that purpose, you painted a very, very detailed picture in front of the grand jury, didn't you?
Yeah,
Except it's not true, is it?
I did not hear her ask that. I was told she was asked that. In the,
The answer to my question, Ms. Roberts, and I'm a trick question. What you told the grand jurors was not true. You never heard her, my client, ask anyone to Google anything, did you?
I did not.
And yet that's what you testified to under oath, under penalty of perjury in front of the grand jury, didn't you?
I did.
And the reason you did that, the reason that you said that false statement was because someone told you to say it, correct?
Object.
Is that, I'm going to let her answer.
Nobody told me to say it. I knew it happened at that time,
How did you
which
know
is
it
why I
happened?
said it.
How did you know it happened, Ms. Roberts, if no one told you it happened?
Because we wrote a timeline. We already spoke about
So
that.
the timeline that Jennifer McCabe helped you with, that influenced your testimony in front of the grand jury, correct? Obviously.
I was telling what happened in the back of the
Ms.
cruiser.
Roberts, the timeline
You can answer.
you wrote,
So when you ask a question, let her answer, okay?
the timeline you wrote, with Jennifer McCabe's help, influenced your testimony to testify in front of the grand jurors to a statement that you never heard, correct?
Yes.
Lies, 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 lies.
You were later asked about that statement in another investigation, by another investigator or set of investigators, correct?
I don't know.
Were you interviewed by a different law enforcement agency, a separate law enforcement agency from the Massachusetts State Police at any time?
Yes.
And you were told that to lie to those agents would be a crime, correct?
Yes.
Punishable by prison, correct?
I was not told that.
They asked you whether or not you heard Karen Reed ever say anything to Jennifer McCabe about Googling anything, correct?
I don't know.
Isn't it true that you told them what you've just now told us, which is, I did not hear Karen Reed ask Jennifer McCabe to conduct any Google searches?
I don't recall.
Would it refresh your recollection to look at a copy of that interview and that report?
Sure.
Lies, 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 lies.
Can I approach?
Yes.
I'm going to ask you to take a look at the entire document, just to familiarize yourself with it if you don't mind, including the front page. And don't answer anything about the document until I ask you a question, if you don't mind, please.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, well, she's looking at that. That's what you call a boom. That is really the mic drop. The whole cross-examination to that one point, she got her to admit that she lied before the grand jury. She told the grand jury an untruth, and no one ever corrected it. That she never heard Karen Reed ask McCabe
Robert,
to
do you
Google
recognize that as being a
hypothermia.
report of an interview that you conducted?
I've never seen this before, but
Understood. You may never have seen it, but does it remind you that that's
Yes.
a report of a conversation you had with another law
Yes.
enforcement agency? I'm going to ask you to turn to page 7 of that report. And if you look, there's a small paragraph, about 2 paragraphs up from the bottom. I think I may have put a little blue dot by it, but I'm not sure. Please read that to yourself.
Again,
Correct.
Alan Jackson got Kerry Roberts to admit she lied before the grand jury on the Google search. She never heard Karen Reed ask to have a Google search of hypothermia. It was something somebody told her, and that was Jen McCabe.
Ms. Roberts, does that refresh your recollection about what you told these investigators?
yes.
And what you told them was you, quote, did not hear Karen Reed ask Jennifer McCabe to conduct any Google
That is
searches.
correct.
And you went on to say, you saw McCabe on her phone.
I'll allow it.
You saw McCabe on her phone, but you did not hear Karen ask Jennifer to Google anything.
Correct.
So what you told the grand jurors was in fact false.
I misunderstood Mr. Lally's question.
Got it. Thank you.
What? I misunderstood the question. Oh boy. Done, cooked, put a skewer in her.